Hey everyone, this is Nikachu, and I am finally prepared to show you some sort of deck to prepare you guys for Grand Prix Copenhagen and Grand Prix Kobe. Now, oh my god, am I exhausted trying things. I actually was really experimental at first, taking out all the Master of Waves, but slowly I put them all back in because I don't know, like all the decks I played against, if I lost, it wasn't a matchup where I needed Master of Waves, but still putting them back in the deck helped the win rate a lot. So I mean, I tried a lot of different builds, and this is the one that ended up doing the best. Overall, I wouldn't say this is my best deck ever, but it's a deck, and if you guys aren't confident in your own list, or you just want a sideboard guide, then here it is for you. So we're gonna be running with 12 Island, 4 Mutavault, 2 Cavern of Souls. I threw the last Cavern pretty late in testing because online I ended up playing just countless numbers of control decks. But it's really tough to evaluate specifically Blue-White Control's presence in a Grand Prix because that deck doesn't have a very fast clock or a very good win condition. The games can close out fine online because of the chess timers, but in practice, like I don't see Blue-White Control at all at Grand Prix. That's my point. I just don't see this deck at all, and I'm only assuming people don't pick it up because the games are really long, exhausting, or they go to time too often because they run close to time against me just online, and in person it would just be much worse. So still, you see Grixis control, and I think the reason you see a lot of Grixis control is because they have a faster clock. They have Gurmag Angler and Tasigur, and they can close the game out very quickly, and they might throw in some other threats. So either way, throwing an extra Cavern doesn't hurt all that much. We're going to play with Oboro, Minamo, for Cursecatcher, Lords, Silvergil, for Harbinger of the Tides, probably in very good shape because of the Death Shadow metagame. 2 Tidebinder Mages, I'll get back to that in a second, 4 Merrow Reejerey, 4 Master of Waves, and 2 Dismembers. So the Tidebinder Mages, okay, first off, Tidebinder Mage is going to end up being a Grizzly Bear probably 90% of your games. The reason I have it in the deck is because I want to give a lot of respect to the new Abzan Company deck. I think it is going... I don't know if it's going to exactly be a breakout deck in the tournament because for the last few days I played against it a ton, but then going in later and later into these days I ended up playing against a bunch of control decks, and I don't know, I imagine that the Abzan Company deck should still have game against even the control decks, but I'm not sure. But the point is, it potentially could be a breakout deck in the tournament, this Abzan Company deck. It is a much worse version of the Abzan Company deck than we are used to seeing, because Relic of Progenitus doesn't interact with their infinite mana combo. This Druid, so and the same thing with Gutshot. So we've got this, there's that 0/2 Druid that you can put a -1/-1 counter on it to untap him. But then we've got this 2/1 Vizier for 2 mana that says if you put a -1/-1 counter on anything, you just end up putting that many -1. So this Druid can, in response to, say, Gutshot on the Vizier, they can just untap the Druid, and then even if you respond a million times with Gutshot, they can keep putting on the stack to untap the Druid, and so you can never interact. Once the infinite mana is online, you can never interact with it, and they can just dump their hand, search for whatever they need while everything's on the stack, or just add like 1 billion mana in their mana pool. It's ridiculous. Of course, Relic of Progenitus doesn't interact with it, so our normal ways of interacting with this combo just get nerfed. Dispel is fine, yeah, so long as they don't have too much gas to back it up with. Like, for example, they can add 1 billion mana, Chord of Calling, you dispel it, but then they'll just play Eternal Witness, get their Chord of Calling back, and then Chord all over again for this 3 mana creature that look at the top 3 cards of your library and put a creature card from among them in your hand or something like that. So I want to attack that deck by being incredibly aggressive. I want to choke their mana with Gutshot and Tidebinder Mage. Tidebinder Mage still... it ended up being a very fine card in the main deck just because it was just a creature, and I mean, just a Grizzly Bear was enough to win the game. I mean, there's a lot of times where we just play Harbinger of the Tides on turn 2 because it's the only thing that we have to play to curve out. And same situation with Tidebinder Mage. it's not useless because it's a win condition. But I really want it for the times that we're going to end up playing against that Abzan Koko deck because I think it is very dangerous. I lost 7 games straight, and I remember like the normal Abzan Company deck it's very fluid. It can very easily Collected Company and Court of Calling and Eternal Witness get the engine going, but we used to have better ways to interact with it. This new Vizier is it's just a Malira on crack. It's really strong and makes it much more awkward for us. So yeah, I want to play with the Tidebinder Mages. And the Dismembers, because we can... Vapor snagging anything doesn't mean anything, because then they'll just play it back in their hand. If we Dismember it's gone permanently. And we also have the opportunity to kill some of the Mana Dorks as well, and maybe, hopefully, cut them off mana. For Aether Vial, for Spreading Seas, of course. 3 Dispel for those Abzan Company matchups, and for combo matchups. Storm is pretty popular online right now. You might end up playing against a Storm deck. For Gutshot, I mean, I ran into some Elves, I ran into some Affinity, so I thought it was enough reason for me, and because of the Abzan Company deck, I'm going to play with the Gutshot. I thought it was enough reason that I should be playing the full 4. I might have been able to go down to 3 and maybe jam, I don't know, something else in the sideboard. I was considering a long time squeezing some Kiras in here, like take out 1 Relic, take out 1 Gutshot, put 2 Kiras, but I just don't have enough time to test for this list. It is what it is right now. But I'm going to play with the Gutshots. Yeah, Gutshot. Got to show that Abzan Company deck who's boss. So Unified Will. Honestly, my testing wasn't very good with Unified Will. I mean, it was actually getting choked pretty often. Like for example, let's say you're up against Storm and they just have Goblin Electromancer out. It's very difficult to keep this thing online, and perhaps it should be Negate, or some copies should be Negate, but at the same time, Unified Will is pretty decent against Eldrazi-tron, as recommended in the comment section of this channel. So I'm going to stick with Unified Will for the time being. And for Relic of Progenitus, because this ended up being a very good card against Death Shadow. I played against Death Shadow 7-8 times, and I didn't lose any of them. So, yeah, we've got my revenge on Death Shadow. I lost like 7 games straight, won 7 games straight. So moving on with the matchups, we'll start with Death Shadow. So against the Grixis version, you're gonna run. I bring in 3 Dispel and 4 Relic of Progenitus. Relic of Progenitus being incredibly good against the Grixis Death Shadow deck because of Tasigur and Gurmag Angler. Dispel, I think, is a fine card. I mean, it still counters like all the instants, including Fatal Push, for example. And we're going to take out all the Aether Vials and 3 Spreading Seasons. It's a blue-based deck, so you don't need the Spreading Season. I have nothing else to take out. So against the Jund Death Shadow deck, we'll bring in 2 Dispel, 4 Relic of Progenitus, take out all the Aether Vials, and we'll take out the Dismembers. Dismember can end up looking really silly because against a good player, they're never going to let you kill their Death Shadow. If they let you kill their Death Shadow, then they're an idiot. And then it's going to be very situational whether you kill a Tarmogoyf or not, because the same situation, they could try to play around it by filling up their graveyard. On the other hand, we're playing with 4 Relic of Progenitus. Maybe we shrink the graveyard, but I'm hoping that the relics should be enough anyway, and we've got Tidebinder Mages in the deck anyhow. So against Bant Knightfall, we're going to bring in 4 Gutshot. Here, maybe I should show a little bit more on the sideboard. Bant Knightfall, up on the rise. We'll bring in 4 Gutshot, kills all their Mana Dorks, kills Selfless Spirit. We'll bring in 2 Dispel because they play with Path to Exile, they played with Collected Company. 2 Relic of Progenitus, they play with Knight of the Reliquary and Scavenging Ooze. And we'll take out 4 Master Waves because it's very expensive. And I'm also going to take out Aether Vial. Wasn't sure about this decision. And I ended up making it because they play with Spell Queller, and it's a lot easier for us to play our game if we have an Aether Vial active. On the other hand, they do have Stony Silence in the sideboard. Sometimes you end up with some guy that decides to side it in. But I didn't know what else to take out. Because, like, if I alternatively, you could play without the Gutshots. You don't need to have Gutshot. It's not mandatory in this matchup, and you could just bring in 2 Relic, 2 Dispel, and play with and take out 4 Master of Waves. But I want to play with the gut shots. The curve gets lower, so 20 lands should be doable, and gut shots can just screw them sometimes. So moving on to Eldrazi, you just bring in 4 Unified Will and you take out 4 Master of Waves. 4 Master Waves is a pretty vulnerable card in this metagame. Like, I tried to play a Master of Waves less list, but the results weren't there. I just wasn't winning with it for whatever reason. Master of Waves is just vulnerable to a lot of things. I would just say, like, we can't afford to tap out against Abs and Company with Master of Waves. Master of Waves is too expensive to play against Affinity, and against any like Walking Ballista deck like Eldrazi Tron, it's very easy to get sniped off. So against Affinity, we bring in the 4 gut shots, we take out the 4 Master of Waves. Against Burn, we'll bring in 3 Dispel and take out 2 Dismembers and a Merrow Reejerey. Against Abzan, we'll bring in 4 Relic of Progenitus, 2 Dispel, because it should be able to tag at least a Path to Exile or a Fatal Push, and we'll take out 2 Cursecatchers and 4 Aether Vial. Not a fan of Cursecatcher in a lot of Abzan lists because of Zealous Persecution or what else? It has nothing to counter, really. That's the problem. Death and Taxes, no changes. I was thinking of trying to bring in like maybe 2 gut shots for 2 Cursecatchers, but you know what? I actually like a lot of creatures against Death and Taxes. Against Merfolk, we'll take out 2 Spreading Seasons and bring in 2 gut shots. Against Jund, we'll bring in all 4 Relic of Progenitus and take out 4 Aether Vial. Now against Blight Control, I'm going to bring in the Relics, I'm going to bring in the Dispels, I'm going to bring in just 2 Unified Wills, and I'm going to take out all the Spreading Seasons and all the Aether Vials. I had too many games in my history against Blight Control where they played a Stony Silence against me and got too free of a win, and it was really annoying. They know we have Aether Vial, they know we have Relic of Progenitus, and that's also another reason I'm not bringing in the full 4, because just in case they bring in Stony Silence, this card is not going to be completely dead. So for that reason, I'm going to take out the Aether Vial, and the game's played really fine. I mean, you can still flash things in at end of turn after a Supreme Verdict because of Harbinger of the Tides. And you're not going to be that choked on mana because they should be playing Path to Exile on your creatures at some point, and they will help fill your board with mana. And then maybe it just comes down to, do you want to play with Spreading Seas or do you want to play with Dismember for their Colonnades? And I've decided I will just play with the Dismember because it also can hit Vendilion Click occasionally, and it's just a really mana efficient thing. For example, if you play Spreading Seas, they could at some point play Engineered Explosives on 2 and blow up the Spreading Seas, whereas Dismember will be permanent, and also you encourage them to tap out in order to activate the Colonnade to block, and then after you dismember them, that's a pretty huge blowout, and it opens up the opportunity for you to do something on your second main phase. Moving on, Grixis control, +3 Dispel, +3 Relics, -2 Tidebinders, 2 Cursecatchers, and 2 Harbingers. I don't know, it's probably something else has to go. We're getting rid of something right now. Because I like the idea of 4 Relic in this deck. I love 4 Relic. Let's take out 1 Aether Vial. Just cause, I don't know, my reasoning is that they have Kolaghan's Command or some crap like this. Because Relic of Progenitus is so good against Grixis control because of they're so reliant on Snapcaster Mage and Tasigur and Gurmag Angler. But it looks so weird, 1 Aether Vial. I'm not really a fan of Harbinger of the Tides. Maybe I should just not be a fan of 1 Dismember. Well, let's get rid of Dismember. After all, we're bringing in the Relic of Progenitus for the Dismember, so there we go. So against Bring to Light Scapeshift, we're just going to bring in all our combo anti-combo cards, Unified Will, Dispel, take out to the Dismembers, Harbinger of the Tides. I tried to experiment with Spreading Seas. I don't really remember the results, but I would need to jam this so much more to find out if Spreading Seas is really effective against a Bring to Light Scapeshift deck. Against Lantern Control, you might as well pray, but if you don't, but if you're not going to do that, you bring in all your Unified Wills. Bring in your Relic of Progenitus because it is. You could perhaps potentially threaten to draw some card off the top, and you also can keep your opponent's graveyard in check because they will potentially try to return something from the graveyard back to their hand with Academy Runes. We'll take out all the Master of Waves. These two slow, the two Dismembers, 2 Spreading Seas. We'll keep 2 Spreading Seas because of Academy Runes. You can also put it on that Metalcraft land, gain a life every turn. So against Abs and Company, we're going to bring in 3 Dispel, 4 Gutshot, 1 Relic, take out 4 Aether Vial and 4 Master Waves, and just be incredibly as aggressive as possible. Against Storm, we're going to bring in a lot of stuff. 4 Relic, 3 Dispel, 4 Unified Will, taking out all the Spreading Seasons because they're useless. 4 Merrow Reejerey. He's just a bit expensive for what we want for the payoff. Take out 2 Tidebinder Mages, but I'm not sure. I don't know if this should be Harbinger of the Tides. Harbinger you can flash in at flash speed with 4 mana. On the other hand, Tidebinder Mage can tap down Goblin Electromancer, and we'll take out 1 Master of Waves. Master of Waves is fine in the Storm matchup because it survives. It can stabilize the board against an Empty the Warrens. It can survive Lightning Bolt, Grape Shot, can attack through Goblin Electromancer. So there's actually quite a bit of a payoff when you can get your Aether Vial, for example, to 4, and then Vial in a Master of Waves and close the game out pretty quickly with a bunch of counterspell backup. Against Dredge, we're going to bring in all the Relic of Progenituses, take out Dispel and Tidebinder Mage because they're not useful. Against Titan Shift, we'll bring in all the Unified Wills, the Dispels to counter Lightning Bolt and Summoner's Pact. We'll take out all the Master of Waves, 2 Dismembers, and 1 Harbinger of the Tides. And against Elves, we'll bring in all the Gutshots, all the Dispels. We'll take out Master of Waves, 2 Cursecatchers, and 1 Spreading Seas. And I'm hoping that we don't really need Master of Waves and that we can lord them out. Either lord them out or 2 power creature them out. Go Harbinger of the Tides. Naked Harbinger. Against Living In, we'll bring in all the Unified Wills. We'll bring in 2 Dispels for Ricochet, Trap, and Beast Within. And we'll take out Master of Waves and 2 Dismembers. Not sure if we should take out them. I have no idea if we should have Master of Waves or not, but Master of Waves is lovely. But it's expensive, sorry. And against Ad Nauseam, we're going to bring in the Unified Wills, Dispels, take out Master of Waves, Dismember, and a Tidebinder Mage, and that's it. So yeah, you can check the link, you can check the description below for just this list. I'll have the entire thing there, and good luck to you guys in Copenhagen and Grand Prix Kobe. Much luck to you guys. If you don't play this list, that's fine. Play your own list. It's all good. Do what's comfortable for you. So good luck to you guys. This has been Nikachu giving a sideboard guide for Grand Prix Copenhagen and Kobe.